Hey everybody, how's it going? So I wanted to go over this interesting survey that came out from Consumer Intelligence Research Partners. It is about Apple's self-service repair program. It says that almost all iPhones in use have a display that is in usable condition, and most iPhones have a battery in usable condition. 12% of iPhone displays are cracked but usable, and just 6% are unusable and in need of replacement. 26% of iPhone batteries are said to provide battery life lasting half a day without charging, and 14% might need to be charged every couple of hours. Battery replacements are therefore likely to be among the most common repairs, but comparatively few active devices are in need of replacing either of those parts that are subject to a high level of wear and tear. And they post a little chart over here that you can see. Mr. Clinton, that you can see. Clinton. There we go. He's supposed to be responsible for the scene changes in OBS here. So you can see perfect, 65%, scratched but usable here, cracked, saying that most phones have a perfectly fine screen, and most of them have a battery that lasts long enough that they won't need to use the program. Since most new iPhone buyers already have more than adequately usable phones, quote, few owners would use the self-service repair program to postpone their next iPhone purchase, according to CIRP's Josh Lowitz. This is not something that is particularly surprising to me. Most people don't believe that they would need a repair program or a repair until they actually show up. Like, most people don't really schedule, well, should I get the new one or should I do this with my current one? They have something, they break it, they need it because they use it every single day. They show up, we fix it, they leave. A lot of people don't have something that they use in and out every single day that they leave broken when it is necessary that that particular device work. And most people just don't really know that they need something fixed. It's not like, it's not one of those things where, like, I'm thinking about going on a vacation. It's one of those, oh crap, I just destroyed this, I need to get it fixed kind of thing. It's kind of an impulse thing. But what was really interesting to me was looking at some of the comments in this thread. Let's be real, who plans on fixing their iPhone by themselves? This all sounds very scary. Not hard. Not, I don't know how to do it. Scary. Seriously, if I have the money to drop $1,000 on a smartphone, do you think I would cheap out on trying to repair it? No way. And one of my favorites was headline, no kidding. Very few people care about this except small groups of obsessives. If you want to fix the devices that you paid for, you're not someone who wants to get your money's worth, you're obsessive. And as electronics get smaller and even more complicated, having your cousin Bud in his basement fixing things, it ain't gonna happen any more than NASA sends up Joe the plumber to fix the space station. How do we get to Joe the plumber from fixing your iPhone? It takes increasing expertise for the vast majority of consumers that have no interest in home repairs, but for those that want it, go ahead. But please stop making it to a rights issue. There is no right to repair. Will cousin Bud in the basement also perform your next medical procedure because the right to repair? I think you have more options than one hospital that you could go to if you want a procedure done. You can kind of look around in the United States and figure out which surgeon you'd like to utilize and use that particular surgeon. You're not stuck going to manufacturer authorized repair or just throwing it away. I don't know if that's, but what's really interesting is how it kind of just shows how much the culture has changed. And this is something where I would ask for input from the more senior members of my audience. Again, I just turned 33. I'm still comparatively young compared to when you're looking at, in contrast to the time frames in the United States when people repaired their own things, and it was common that you had schematics and diagrams and manuals and access to parts and all that. But for people who were in their 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s, was this always a thing, or was this just kind of a modern thing? Because one of the things that I've said on this channel for a really long time is that this is actually a popular issue that people care about, and that the opposition to it primarily comes from well-funded lobbyists. But sometimes I kind of wonder if that's the case. When you read people that just seem to be so salty and insulting at the idea that somebody may want to fix their own things when they have no financial or vested interest in that individual fixing their own stuff, is it really companies that are against right to repair, or is it us? Like, it's one of those red pill issues for me, which is, at the end of the day, is right to repair something people actually care about, or do they deep down want an excuse to make a decision that makes no sense? They have a 2015 car that works just fine. The 2022 model looks shinier, it's faster, and damn, it just looks much cooler than the one that I got now. And listen, I didn't want to spend $80,000 in a car that I can't afford. I didn't want to do that. But it has better gas mileage. My truck gets me 20 miles a gallon. That one gets me 35. It's totally worth spending $80,000 on. People have a tendency to justify making the decisions that they want to make. They'll intellectualize the decisions that their heart is telling them to make. Their heart will say, I want that. That thing is cool. And then in their brain, they'll come up with all these intellectual reasons why it makes sense to make a decision that does not make sense. And I do wonder at times, at the end of the day, is it actually preferable to consumers that their devices not be repairable? If my device has a bad charge port, and all I had to do to replace the charge port is take out 3 screws, pop out something that's modular, and pop something else in, well, then it really does kind of seem foolish to spend $1,100 in a new device I can't afford. But if I can't replace the charge port on it, it's too hard, the manufacturer doesn't offer it, I can't trust those filthy, unclean independents to do this properly, it's too hard to do myself. Listen, I don't want to spend $1,100 on a new one, but a new one came out, and it looks really nice, and, it's a pretty device, has some nice features, and listen, this one doesn't charge, and the manufacturer's going to charge me practically close to what it costs to get a new one to fix it, and again, I don't want an independent. What if they steal my data or something? I really do wonder, are these reasons actual reasons for being against right to repair, or are these just good enough to nudge people in the direction of doing what they really wanted to do all along, which was buy a new one? Have a shiny new one. And again, I have no problem with people deciding that they want to buy new stuff. I don't have a problem with people being consumerist and deciding every single year they want to get new stuff. If it were people that I knew that were in financial hardship, and they were my friends, and I had, and it was my business to be a good friend, I may take them aside and say, hey, this is your income, this is your savings, this is your debt. Why the fuck are you spending $60,000 on something when you got $5,000 in the bank? But to people that I don't know, I don't really care what you do with your money. But it's very interesting when you see this type of talk present itself, and I do wonder, is this talk actually designed to be an argument against it, or is it one of those really weak arguments that you tell yourself so that you could justify doing something that you probably shouldn't do, but that you want to do? Again, when you see someone who has a truck that works perfectly fine, it does everything they need it to do, and then they spend $80,000 in a new one, and they say, quote, I was getting killed on the gas mileage. People have that tendency to intellectualize what they actually want to do. And people are really good at lying to themselves and writing up these little narratives so that they can justify doing what they wanted to do all along. Sometimes it's important to ask yourself when somebody is arguing with you, not do they believe what they're saying, but why do they want to believe what they are saying? Let me know what you think of this information down below. Do you believe that this survey is credible? Do you believe that they surveyed a large enough sample size to actually figure out if this is the case for most people? Do you think that even if they did survey a large sample size of people, that this could easily change if tomorrow a bunch of them crack their screens? Do you think that the low percentage rate is because people who utilize repair services typically utilize them very quickly? They don't leave their device broken if they use it every single day and it is their daily driver? What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And again, I'd really be interested in hearing from people who are my seniors, who were around long before me, who remember the 60s and 70s and 80s when devices were able to come with schematics and parts and diagrams and all that. Was this part of the culture back then? Was this always kind of like a little culture war, like, well, that's scary, or what kind of schmuck wants to fix his own stuff? It devalues something that was much more on the fringes of the culture, in contrast to there being some pride taken in fixing your own stuff. Let me know in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.